What's up, Michigan? I want to welcome you back to another edition of State Champs Michigan's Hangtime Chalk Talk Podcast, presented by the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. I'm your host, Lorne Plant, and we have a very special guest on the podcast because his story is really quite amazing. You may know him today as the head coach of the Jackson Vikings boys basketball team, and you should, because his team is now 16-4 and atop the SEC White Division. But this gentleman's basketball journey is nothing short of fascinating. He is Milton Barnes, and I thank you for taking a few minutes with us today.
Well, thank you, Lauren. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Fantastic. Now, I don't mean to date you, sir, but you went
okay.
But you went to Saginaw High in the 1970s, and this was a really great era for Saginaw basketball. One example, we did a show on the great rivalry between Saginaw and Arthur Hill, because it has been pretty legendary over the years. But in the 70s and 80s, even into the 90s, Saginaw won every meeting. That's how good they were back in those days. Now, the great small forward Paul Dawkins, I remember, was in that era. He was awesome. No state championships.
Man, you remember Paul, huh?
I know. He was great. Now, no state championships in that era, but a couple of finals appearances, and you didn't play high school basketball right off the bat. I read that in 1976, you witnessed Detroit Catholic Central beating Saginaw 59-57 in the Class A state finals, and that affected you.
Well, actually, I think it's a little bit different.
Okay.
It was in 1974. I think it was 74.
Okay.
The Saginaw High went to the state championship game and played Detroit Southwestern.
That's right.
No, 73. I'm sorry.
Okay.
73, I think it was. We lost in 74. That was Tony Smith. We lost in the semis.
Okay.
And then after that, so those 2 years impacted me the most.
You obviously were paying attention to Saginaw basketball, but you weren't playing at the time. No. What made you decide you wanted to play?
Charlie Coles convinced me to play basketball because Charlie Coles was one of the greatest coaches
legend.
in the high school level and college. He's a legend. And he convinced me that I could play good enough to play for the team. And and I always looked up to those guys that were ahead of me. A former Spartan, Bob Chapman, was a guy that we all kind of looked up to and kind of set the path for Saginaw High back in those 70s. So, it was one of those things where I ultimately wanted to play and got a chance to finally play my senior year, and had a decent year. But basketball by that time had become really more important to me than I even realized at the time how much it would impact my life. So I've been very fortunate, very blessed as a result of my connection to basketball as a player. When I left Saginaw to go to Albion College to becoming a coach after I graduated from college.
Yeah. So 11 kids in your family, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Which is insane. That must have been just crazy growing up. But Coach Coles helps you get to Albion, and one year even you get as far as the Division III Final Four while you played there.
1978.
All right.
Same year Michigan State went to I think they got beaten in the regional finals. So we boasted on the fact that, Michigan State got to regional, but we got to the Final Four. So we felt like we accomplished something. So
yeah, and I read that. Yeah, I know, it's awesome. I read it was actually an injury, and you were doing some rehab and stuff that allowed you the opportunity to get involved with some neighborhood kids, kind of see that they weren't getting the opportunities, and you wanted to help out, and that really ignited a love for coaching that obviously has continued to this day.
Yeah, it all started there for me when I decided I wanted to be a coach. Some people might remember the name Dean Hobson here in Albion from Albion. He played at the University of Michigan, and he was one of the kids that I started working with in the community.
Wow.
It was amazing the impact that I had on so many kids, not really thinking about what I was doing other than just trying to help some kids and make a positive influence on their lives. And it turned out to be an unbelievable experience that really led me into wanting to be a coach.
Yeah. And to being so young at that time and have that kind of self-realization, of what you're put on this earth to do is quite awesome, because, it so often takes us a lot longer to do that. So at that point, your career begins, and I may jump around a bit, but you were an assistant coach with Albion in '79, then Kent State, University of Detroit, Eastern Michigan, the University of Minnesota. You take the job at Albion High School in 1988, and you even helped guide the team to the state finals in 1991. What a whirlwind decade that must have been for you.
It was. It really was. Having had success as a player there or here in Albion really kind of made it a little bit somewhat easier for people to buy in on the things I was trying to teach and promote. It was a challenge leaving the college ranks. I had already had 7 years of experience coaching at the college level.
Because after that, you went back to Minnesota as an assistant before landing the head coaching job at Eastern Michigan in the mid-'90s. But in 2000, you decide, and this is what blows me away, you decide to welcome in the new century by taking the head coach and general manager's job with the Harlem Globetrotters. How on earth did that come about? And I know it didn't last very long, but it must have been a riot.
Yeah, it was. It was actually, it was a decision that I decided to go away from college basketball because I was let go at Eastern Michigan. So I had opportunities to continue coaching, maybe as an assistant, stick around and maybe wait for another opportunity. But I decided, why not do something that I've never really even imagined myself doing. And it was kind of a far-stretched opportunity that came along that I said, why not go for it and see what it's like. It was a different side of entertainment. And so that's what I decided to do.
Yeah, and I can only imagine, just because everything, it's a show. It's not really, it being an athletic event, I remember in the early 80s, actually, the Harlem Globetrotters, I grew up in Los Angeles, and they used to actually practice at one of the local schools there. They would come in and do stuff. But just such an invigorating environment for someone to be in. And I don't even know how you coach them.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. The owner, Manny Jackson, at that time, had a vision for the Globetrotters that made some sense at that time, and he wanted to create a little bit of an added image to the Globetrotters image, and that was creating a competitive side as well as the entertainment side. So that was an opportunity to help with his vision. Manny Jackson was a friend that I had come to know through my time at Minnesota because he was an executive at one of the companies there in Minneapolis. And so that was an opportunity to maybe do something different and create something different for the Globetrotters. And so we tried it. It was a good attempt, but the Globetrotters, as we all know, they are who they are, and they're a show. And even though that has been maintained for I don't know how many decades they've been in existence, but they are one of the best at what they do, and certainly that's something that they continue to do even to this day. And I'm just happy to have had the experience of understanding that side of the business, so to speak, and understanding exactly all the things those players have to go through just to be able to maintain that level of entertainment that they provide.
No doubt. Hands down, one of the best family experiences any family can have at any kind of an event, because it's
Without question.
it's jaw-dropping especially for kids. They just eat it up. So you take that experience and head to the brand new NBA D League. So you're the head coach and GM of the Greenville Groove, and you win a D League title. That must have been a wild ride.
That was a great experience, something I'll never forget, even to this day. I reminisce sometimes about some of the experiences I've had through coaching, and that ranks right up with the best I've ever had, because we took that team and program right from scratch, from the ground up. We built it, and within months. And it was a much different league than it is now, the G League, but it was the start of something big. And what it was then was they wanted to try to make sure all teams were somewhat equal in terms of players level and talent and things of that nature. But you had to build it through the draft, just like the NBA. And we to put together a team that ultimately won the title. It was so gratifying because it's very similar to what you have at the high school level. You work with the kids that's in your community, and you do the best you can with what you got. And so the same concept for the most part with the D League at that time. So I was real proud of that accomplishment to win that championship in the D League.
So then if that's not enough, you then get into the NBA scouting game, and you do that for a lot of years. And you also did some coaching for the Nigerian and the Senegal national teams. Jeez.
Yeah, I did that.
Wow.
I've been around the world.
Yeah, man.
Lauren, I've been around the world. That's why I say basketball has opened so many opportunities for me in my life. I can't explain how it all happened. It just did, and I've been very blessed to have had the opportunity to do and see and meet people and just be all over the world, learning more about not just basketball but life. Going to Africa was the all-time ultimate experience, being African American and not really knowing totally the real history. Being able to go there and feel it, see it, and feel it is it's a whole nother experience.
And incredible athletes, obviously. What you were, but teaching the game, you had to really teach the game. I'm assuming.
Yes. Well, we were fortunate enough. We had guys that were American born, most of them. Some of them were not, but some were. So there wasn't a drastic change with trying to teach them how to play. It was more of a understanding of how to get them to play together as a team. And when I was the coach, I was the assistant coach under Sam Benson. A lot of people may remember former Michigan State Spartan. Yeah. And so we got to take the team over to the World Championships over in Japan, and it was just an unbelievable experience trying to get guys that never really knew each other, but bring them together as a team and get them to play together.
Yeah. Then it's back to college basketball as an assistant at SMU. Then you're a scout again for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then a head coaching job for the U.S. Virgin Islands national team from 2010 to 2014. And eventually, though, you found your way back to Albion and back helping kids who need it. You start the Playwright Basketball Academy. Talk about this full circle.
It's amazing to be back in Albion, running a program, again, trying to maintain that same philosophy that we started back in the 70s, or actually in 80, I graduated in '79, so in college that is. Dean Hobson was like a middle school kid, and so you're talking about the same philosophy I had then. I still have that same approach. How can we impact kids? And if you have that as the foundation of what you're doing, you'll be able to face the times that kids are facing, and you try to help them deal with the current issues that are going on with these kids in their lives. And that's all I wanted to do here. And Albion is one of the places, most fondest places I've ever lived. And so I had to come back and make a difference in a place that I felt like I grew up in. So I came back to Albion, created the program, Playwright Basketball Academy, and eventually it's grown since then, and now it's Playwright Sports Academy.
Okay.
Because we do more than just basketball. We do basketball, of course, but we also do flag football, t-ball, and do other sports and opportunity for kids to get exposure to other things. But at the same time, trying to emphasize academic success and being successful in life. And those are the things that really makes a difference in our society. Is when you touch the lives of young people, you have a chance to impact our current society, and that's all I hope to do.
All right, we're talking with Milton Barnes, who has been a coach at every single level that you could possibly imagine and has done it all in the game of basketball. But eventually, you found yourself coaching high school basketball again, but now at Jackson High School, and I think this is 2019. How did that job come about?
Well, it's funny because I came back to Albion thinking I was just going to run my program and just kind of be in the trenches, doing my work in the community and doing all that I can to help here. But I wanted to do more. The program was continuing to grow, and my outreach from Albion went west and east of Albion, Battle Creek, and Jackson. And so I wanted to make sure that philosophically I was doing the right thing for kids, and the opportunity to impact kids, probably my reach would be much more expansive and inclusive if I was a high school coach. So the opportunity was presented to me. And I said, why not? I'm working with kids, so I might as well just continue to work with kids and try to make a difference. And so that's all I've tried to do since I've been at Jackson, and again, try to continue to make a difference in the lives of young people in any way that I can. And right now we feel like we've turned that program around. We've got, where you already mentioned, we've won the conference championship, and that's a great accomplishment for where we started 3 years ago. And so I'm proud of the things we've accomplished, not just on the court, but these kids are good students. We do community work. We do things to be visible and influential with younger kids, so that everyone understands the responsibility that goes with being a student athlete. And my kids at Jackson High School really demonstrate that, and I'm proud of everything that they're doing.
All right, well, let's talk a little about the Vikings then. So Tuesday night was for the conference championship, the SEC White Division Championship against Chelsea. You guys win that game, 83-81. Looks like a completely exciting game. You get a road win on top of it. I saw some of the pictures. It looks like the team was just so fired up after that victory.
Yeah, it was a great celebration. The kids, I don't know how to explain it, but it's so gratifying to see those kids' faces and to see the pride that they demonstrate and show when we accomplish what we accomplished last night, and remembering the tears and the disappointments that they had to endure for the first couple of years, because they were sophomores still learning how to play, how to dribble, how to pass, how to shoot. And now here we are, 2 years later, 3 years later, and they're winning the conference championship. And it's been an uphill climb, but these kids have earned everything that they're accomplishing this year.
I like to always leave a little room for some shout-outs. Talk about some of the playmakers maybe on your team, some of the guys that have really been playing well for you this season.
Our top guys have been, but one of the things I've stressed all year long, that's what makes us so, I think, dangerous, is that we get contributions from a lot of players.
All right.
But obviously, game in and game out, people are going to prepare for Savon Campbell, who I think is a college prospect. I think will be a really good player wherever he goes to college. Terrell White, who's one of our best shooters, if not the best shooter on our team. And Tavion Tanner, who's a dual sport athlete, football and basketball. He's going to Siena Heights to play college football.
Nice.
Tyler Selby, who's been a quiet hero. He was the hero of the game last night. He made the winning bucket.
Nice.
So I'm real proud of him. And so we get so many other contributions, and I tell guys every little bit helps, and that's the case with our team. And guys have bought in on that, and they understand that it's not just our top scorers, but everyone can and must contribute every game, and that's our goal, and that's what we were able to accomplish last night.
Well, and again, this airs on Friday, so he's talking about Tuesday night when he says last night. So it seems to me that you might have the horses now to make some noise in the upcoming postseason, because that's what we're all looking forward to now. You'll be in the Holt District. That's one of your defeats this season. They got you earlier. Yeah. Plus, a very good Okemos team is in that district as well.
Well, our district, as always, is going to be tough, and we've got the toughest road to haul probably of anyone, because if we continue to do the things that we've been doing, we've got to play Holt. They're going to be a tough out, because it's difficult to beat a team on their own court.
Yep.
So they've already beaten us, so they're confident in playing us, and rightfully so, because they beat us. And so we've got to figure out a way to go there and beat them. And then sitting there waiting for us will be the number 1 seed, probably Mason,
right?
Who will again be sitting there waiting for either the winner of us or either Holt. But either way, if we're able to get through that, then we got Okemos sitting there waiting for us,
right,
who has to win one game, but they're playing one of the lower seeds, and
right.
So you would think on paper that'll be the team that gets there. So, so we got a tough road. It's not going to be easy at all. And I look forward to the challenge. I really do. And these kids, no matter what happens in the district, they deserve all the accolades and recognition and applause and the pats on the back. Because of what we were able to accomplish during this regular season.
You've been a coach for so long. One of the things that stands out to me about BCAM, who sponsors this segment, the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan, is that it has college coaches, high school coaches, younger coaches, so coaches at all levels as a part of the association. And that's a great resource for coaches, especially young coaches, if they're seeking advice.
Yeah. No question. The organization has been obviously in existence a long time, and that's somewhat of the brotherhood that you create when you have an opportunity to meet up. And coaches who don't play each other, is always good to X and O with those guys and talk about our own stories and share times in summer leagues and summer camps and things of that nature. So BCAM has been around, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of a great organization.
Well, BCAM's all about one team. They're urging schools to have events that celebrate both teams in the spirit of unity. Go to bcam.org for details. You can nominate a Coach of the Week simply visiting bcam.org as well. Coach Barnes, it has been wonderful getting a chance to talk with you. You have one of the most interesting and diverse coaching careers that any coach I've interviewed in 20 years. So I'm glad we took it to here. I hope you keep coaching for a long time. The game is better with you in it. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you, Lorne. Appreciate you having me.